Bitcoin, Ethereum, all cryptocurrencies really are going to massively outperform, well, basically everything else. That's according to one major bank. And I agree. In fact, I think it's going to go even longer than that, but I think the implications of big money thinking like this are very important to talk about. We also have mayors accepting their salaries in Bitcoin, which is kind of a cool thing to see happening. Some Bitcoin ETF updates and much more in today's video. My name is Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. So if that's a topic you'd like to learn some more about, maybe just stay up to date with, then you should definitely subscribe to the Lark Davis channel. Also, you can take a quick second to tap on that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. I'd massively appreciate it. And of course, if you do want to know when I put out a new video, you should click on the notification bell. By the way, if you are a trader, then you need to get yourself an account over on Femex. It is the best exchange for longing, for shorting Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, Cardano. They got all of the great coins over here on Femex. Use the link down below to start your account, and you're going to get 10% off of your trading fees and up to $1,200 in bonuses. So go ahead and check that out. Now, let's get into the charts. Bitcoin right now is still in an overall uptrend. Just like to point that out. That's what we're going to talk about first. So ever since late July, we had that final just terrifying moment of, gosh, why didn't I buy more Bitcoin? Of course, other people going, I need to sell my Bitcoin. It's going to zero. But yeah, this time back here, ever since then, we've been, of course, in a beautiful uptrend. So what we essentially have happening is that we keep getting higher lows. So we got a low here, next one's a bit higher up, next one's a bit higher up, now a lot higher than the previous one, obviously. And then, of course, we have our, if we can even count this necessarily, it's kind of just part of this higher low. We're going to count it today anyway. This is, of course, our next higher low that we're looking at here. So we've basically seen the trend continuing up. The bottoms keep being higher than the previous ones, which is, of course, what you want to see. I would not like to see Bitcoin closing below $58,000. If it does start doing that, which, you know, it could, if it does, then I would assume we're going to see some more downside coming back down, of course, retest some of those lower areas like $52,500 as an example. But the price action has been very, very interesting over the last few days. I mean, just look at some of these candles. Every single time. This one's crazy. Look at this. Look at this candle. What was that? What was that? Bitcoin went from $63,000 all the way down to $60,000, $3,000 drop in a very short amount of time. But the buying pressure is very, very noteworthy. We saw it here. We saw it here. We saw it here. Every time we get these big dips down to these levels, buyers are stepping up big time. Same happened here on the 3rd of November. Big time step up by the buyers. Now, currently, we are still just basically in our massive struggle with this $62,000 freaking resistance, man. Come on, $62,000. What are you doing? What are you doing here? Of course, big resistance from back in the day, back on the 13th March is when we established this key area of price resistance. Ever since then, we've tried to break it there, failed, tried to break it here, failed, tried to break it here, failed, tried to break it there, failed again. We keep testing this resistance as a key breakout area. We've only really had two significant breakouts above $62,000. It lasted for more than a day. This one lasted, of course, for 3 days. And then back here we had, again, another just 3 or 4 day breakout. So this $62,000 line, it's one of our most key lines right now that we're watching for a major breakout. Now, this, of course, being such an important line, once we do break above it, once we can really get some volume backing that, and that's, I think we need a good catalyst to see that kind of a push happen. You know, we need some good news to come into the market to help push things along. That's usually what gets Bitcoin's engine started up and gets it moving along. But that's our key area right now. We keep having these false kind of breakouts where we just get up above it for a couple of days and then boom, back down. Get above it. Oh, we're going to break it. No, back down. Of course, this one here lacked great volume. This one, you know, I was a little more hopeful about this. We saw, you know, of course, some decent rising volume going into it, but you know, Bitcoin just hasn't done it yet. So this is, of course, what we're watching right now for a major Bitcoin breakout beyond $62,000. Of Of course, altcoins, select altcoins continue to perform very well at this time. But Big Daddy Bitcoin, we're waiting, man. We're waiting. Of course, he just had a beautiful run. So, since July, Bitcoin's up massively. We had a beautiful run here. We had a beautiful run right here as well. So it's normal for Bitcoin to take a bit of a break after all that excitement. It's a healthy thing. To get a bit of time, consolidate a little bit, get ready for the next move. And as we were talking about the other day, our Bollinger Band width chart here still showing that we are expecting some big volatility soon. We haven't really got it yet. These inter-day moves of a few percent up or down, that's not volatility. Oh, we know volatility. Volatility is like what we saw back here, right, in early September, 20% daily drop. Now that was some volatility, my friends. So we haven't seen that kind of stuff yet. Or, of course, preferably upward volatility. We all like upward volatility more than downward volatility. But, yeah, that's what we're watching in the market right now. Let's get into the news. The mayor of New York, there's a new mayor in New York City. This guy, very pro-Bitcoin. He was talking about Bitcoin on the campaign trail. He's come out and said that he's going to take his first 3 paychecks as mayor in Bitcoin. Nice move. It's classy. I like it. And I think it sets a very, very interesting tone for New York City because here's the crazy thing. New York City is the financial capital of the world, right? However, New York City, New York State, is one of the most anti-crypto places you can imagine. It's absolutely insane. I feel bad for everybody who lives in New York. Shout out to my brother if he's listening. He's been struggling with this stuff for years. It's hard to, you have very limited exchange access. You have very limited coin options, et cetera, et cetera. I hope this changes under this new mayor. So what happened previously in New York was that in the early days of Bitcoin, you had a very anti-Bitcoin New York Attorney General who was able to get this bit law put into place, which basically put New York from what was at the time kind of it becoming the hub of Bitcoin to basically going back into the Stone Age. And it's taken a long time. It's taken exchanges years to get licenses to be able to operate. And when they do, they have very, very limited offerings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's been a real pain in the butt. And, it's got better over time. Some of the big companies, Coinbase, for example, they are able to operate in New York State. But it's kept a lot of innovation out. It's kept a lot of companies from operating or setting up their offices there, any of that kind of stuff. So hopefully this guy will change that around so we can see a better crypto situation for New York. Next up, let's talk about the Bitcoin ETF. So we have a couple of U.S. legislators who are trying to push the SEC to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. They basically sent a letter just being like, guys, WTF. Why is there no spot Bitcoin ETF? You've approved multiple futures-backed Bitcoin ETFs. Where's the spot Bitcoin ETF? Why have we not put this out? And it's a good question. The SEC is a bad actor, realistically. Canada's got a spot Bitcoin ETF. In fact, it's got multiple of them, and an Ethereum ETF. Brazil's got a Bitcoin ETF. I think there's an Ethereum ETF coming in Brazil as well, if I remember correctly. And Australia, also a Bitcoin ETF coming soon in Australia. They haven't approved it yet, but they said they're likely to do that. So those are all spot Bitcoin ETFs. Canada, Brazil, Australia, some of the world's biggest economies, they're not playing around with this like, oh, we're going to do a CME futures-backed ETF. That is the SEC basically cucking U.S. investors. That's what's going on right there. It's a joke. It's a joke that those are the kind of ETF products that they would approve. It's basically just the SEC saying that we want to have Wall Street in charge of the price of Bitcoin, that we want to have the CME just making truckloads of money, that we want to have basically bad products available for investors. We want to give investors the kind of products they don't want to buy. And look, the Bitcoin futures-backed ETFs, they have been pretty popular in the USA. We're not going to lie about that. That's obviously very true. A lot of investors have been piling into these, especially a lot of funds and stuff like this, right? So we've seen a lot of money going into these ETF products, but they suck. and we want a spot Bitcoin ETF. So I'm glad that at least somebody in the, some of the U.S. legislators are actually pushing for that to happen. So that's a good thing. Next up, let's talk about the big banks. We'll get two big bank stories today, and they're both pretty interesting. So the first one, the Bank of America Chief Operating Officer says that offering loans against cryptocurrency assets could be a possibility in the future. Now, that may not, just a possibility in the future. It may not sound like big news, but you have to think about how far these banks have come. They've come from basically, shutting people's accounts down if they had the audacity to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase 5 or 6 years ago, which they were doing. A lot of the big banks were doing that. They would stop you from being able to use your credit card to buy cryptocurrencies. And a lot of these guys still do. Well, at the same time offering these kind of big services to their rich customers, they're preventing regular customers from being able to do anything crypto related. But here we go. Bank of America, obviously one of the biggest banks in the United States, saying that they could open up for offering loans against your cryptocurrency assets. Now, this would be an absolute game changer. Obviously, DeFi has been offering this for some years now, which is very cool. You can go to MakerDAO today, take your Ethereum, take your wrapped Bitcoin, and get a cash loan versus those assets. So DeFi is already doing the stuff that banks may do at some point in the future. But I think it's a game changer once again, because there's a lot of people who are just, this is what they do. This is what they do. This is how they think. They need to go to the bank. That's who you get a loan from. They're never going to get on DeFi, or, they're going to get on DeFi in years from now. But you're going to have banks that are going to offer these kind of products and say, yeah, okay, you got 2 Bitcoin sitting in your wallet. Well, that's great. We'll take that as collateral against a loan. That's fine. And here's a big pile of cash for you. Pretty cool. I mean, obviously, that's a kind of service that a lot of rich crypto users will want to take advantage of, because this is the thing. If you need money and you've got enough crypto and you do have an income and stuff like that, you don't need to sell your crypto. This is what's pretty cool about loans. So you don't need to sell your crypto, because when you sell your crypto, you have to pay huge amounts of freaking taxes on it. However, if you just need some cash to, remodel the house or buy a new car or something like that, well, you can take a loan against your assets, and you're probably going to get cheaper rates in DeFi, by the way, not at the bank, but you can take a loan against your assets and then use that money, because a loan is tax-free. Big difference. You keep your assets and you don't have to pay a truckload of taxes. Winning. That's how winning's done, guys. That's, of course, what a lot of the world's elites do. They don't sell their assets. They just take cash loans versus them and let the assets pay those loans back when they need the money, right? Final story for today. JP Morgan, preferred bank of Satan. These guys, they've been talking about crypto a lot. Now, they've been saying some things that make me uncomfortable, because I agree with them. And I don't. Just feels dirty saying that. But anyway, I do. I agree with their sentiment here. And I guess there's somebody at JP Morgan who's not totally compromised. They haven't written the contract to the devil in blood or whatever. Anyway, so they're saying that Bitcoin and digital currencies will continue to outperform into 2022. I agree with that statement. It is very, very true, in my opinion. I think we're going to see, as I've mentioned before, in my videos talking about, well, when could we see Bitcoin reaching a peak, et cetera, et cetera. And look, it's not so much about a time. No one's going to be able to predict the time specifically. So you could say, well, my guess, for example, is we're going to see it coming into Q1 2022, maybe early Q2 2022. That's based on historical models, the lengthening cycle theory, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe. But when we do get that sort of top situation coming in, we're not looking at a specific time. We're looking at a lot of other indicators, which we've talked about on the channel before. And of course, we'll talk about when I think I see those indicators happening. But anyway, crypto is the best trade of 2021. Crypto is going to be the best trade of 2022 as well. And look, maybe we even start talking about a super cycle. Where this is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle doesn't even matter anymore. I mean, Bitcoin's only a third of the cryptocurrency by total value. And we are seeing more and more money flow into non-Bitcoin assets. And the demand for Bitcoin is so damn big that is the next Bitcoin halving really going to be that big of an event? Because it's going to be such a small amount of Bitcoin being released into the markets every day. I mean, it'll be a big event in terms of the price is going to go up, but we aren't going to see necessarily that flood of Bitcoin that drives the market down and drives us into a bear market, because the demand's just outstripping the current ability of miners to produce new Bitcoin. So yeah, I think we do see cryptocurrencies more broadly continue to outperform into 2022. And really, I think for the next decade, look, yes, there's going to be brutal moments in that time. I mean, look back on May, June, July. That was pretty crazy. If you're new to crypto, that's pretty crazy. If you're an old hand around here, you probably just took a nap during that time. You're like, whatever, 50% down. Who cares? Let's just watch some TV, have a beer until this is all over, and then we'll be fine. But you get that, and you're going to get that a lot in crypto. Crypto is incredibly volatile. Remember, the volatility is the price that you pay for performance. And crypto performs. This is the highest potential market in the world right now. Anybody not involved in crypto, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're missing out big time. And look, I know we talk a lot about Bitcoin. This video is largely about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the tip of the spear. Bitcoin is not where the money is made in crypto. You want to make big gains in crypto and make a bunch of money in crypto? You got to play in the altcoin forest, my friends. That is where you make the big gains. We've seen so many altcoins this year do 100x plus moves. We've seen 1000x altcoins more for some of these coins this year. It's been absolutely insanity. And yet, Bitcoin remains a very, very important part of this entire picture. And I think we're going to continue to see incredible gains for really the entire cryptocurrency market moving forward. So I agree with JP Morgan. Feels dirty, guys, but I do. Anyway, final thought for today. This is your question for today. What are you more afraid of happening? Getting wrecked by investing in altcoins or missing out on huge gains in altcoins? You can let me know down below in the comment section whether you're more afraid of getting wrecked or more afraid of missing out on gains. Because this is a common criticism that I hear when we talk about what I just talked about, that, hey, look, reality is altcoins outperform Bitcoin. If you want to get big gains, you got to go invest in altcoins. For a lot of people, that's a controversial statement because over time, a lot of these coins will underperform versus Bitcoin, or at least historically they have. I don't know if that's going to be the same necessarily moving forward. But I think that it's an interesting equation for a lot of people to think about. If you haven't thought about this yet, then think about it now and leave your answer down below in the comment section. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.